John here. Okay, back with another live stream. And first off, as usual, let me check I'm looking up at the laptop. I can barely see the bottom of the screen. Okay, there we go. I've got it stacked up on some boxes back there. It's running all the time because it's my server now. Let's see. Just kind of shove my keyboard out of the way as much as I can. Okay, so here's what I've got. I was going to use the endoscope and it wouldn't work, for close-ups, so I couldn't use that. I guess I'll go ahead and flip the camera down. Yeah, flip the camera down here. Pretty hard to get it exactly where I want it. Just put that let the legs drop off the back. So I'll just open it up and show and tell here. It's got kind of a, let's see if it does it. Yeah, I didn't figure it would. It's got a perforated spot there. Looks like you could rip it open, but let's just use the scissors. And since I know it's small, I'm going to just see if I can get it out of there without cutting the tag in two. Not that it matters, unless you want to send it back or something. Sometimes it's handy to. Okay, there we go. I want it. I like to open the stuff on the video in case it's broken. That's kind of cool, a little case. I've never gotten one with a case. SD card. It's a micro SD with see, that's why you need a case, because I drop stuff. Yeah, I was wanting to use the endoscope, but it wasn't working. And I rebooted the computer and everything. It's a USB endoscope, do close-ups with. Anyway, so I can't show any close-ups. It doesn't really matter that much, but let me see. Well, I'll just leave the camera like it is because I'm going to go to the desktop. I might want to be back on the, yeah, I will be, because I'm going to plug it into the computer. Well, I guess I can go ahead and get it out of the case and do that, and then go to the desktop. I was going to go show you on the website what. Oh, it's a bag that can be opened. That's cool. Wouldn't be putting it back in there. That's pretty hard to get out, but let's see. I forgot. Well, I'll show you the brand. I can't read anything. I see micro on the adapter. The full size SD adapter. I can't see the clip. There it is. Oh, okay. That's the coolest little setup I've ever seen. Well, I've never gotten them in anything like that before. There we go. It's got a little spot for it to go. And that adapter, now this desktop doesn't have a, the full size adapter. Oh, I see. It has a place for it to go too, but it wasn't in. It had already fell out of there. Let's see. I think it maybe only goes in there one way. I'm not sure. Yep, only goes in there one way. So it kind of snaps in. It had fell out during transport, I guess. But I have from another set that I bought. These were strontium. They've been great. I mean, there's never been any problems with them, except, well, these adapters were great, but I've showed this before. It's about to fall apart. It's still working, but one side of it broke out. This side of it broke out. if you can see it on this camera. I don't think I can get it where you can see it really. But it still works, so I'm still using it. The other one did quit working. So I bought two of those, and so I ended up with two full-size SD adapters. And but you put them in this, and it'll go in the USB. So that way I can plug it into this machine because it doesn't have an SD card. This is a Lenovo. I call it the Lenovo i5 because of the processor it has, but it's like a office, what's commercial computer, whatever. I forget the word they always use. But anyway, let me pop that in let me get on the desktop, pop it in there, and then we'll be able, you can see it mount and go from there. Yeah, I don't know why the other one, unable to mount it. Well, crap. I was trying to read that. I grabbed my mouse and the mouse wheel rolled when I grabbed it. Oh, I just went to a different place. Okay, good. I thought it had closed it. Error mounting, went to different desktops when it did. That's what happens when you roll the mouse wheel. I just remember. I don't ever use it that way on purpose. FTD1 at media done. Unknown file system exFAT. Oh, okay. So I didn't know Linux couldn't mount exFAT. Well, then that kind of sends me in a direction that I was wondering if I wanted to do it anyway. That I do know I've looked it up, and that's a Microsoft-owned file system. What I always do with them is format them Fat32. Well, unless I'm putting Fedora installation ISO on it, then it automatically kind of divides it up and it makes it a ext4 for boot, and then something the LVM, I think, I don't remember now, like it does when it installs. But that's my backup video. I always like to be able to see that, but since I'm going to do this, I will. Well, let's go ahead and I'll show you quickly what it is. I'm going to open up my Windows XP virtual machine and see if it'll mount in there, and then I was wanting to run size checker on it, make sure it's not fake. This is not a brand I've really heard of ever. I think I've seen them before on here. But all that fan up there all of a sudden I heard a loud noise. I was like, what is that? Let me check my audio, just now that I'm thinking about it. Okay. It's kind of a rattling fan noise, and it sounds like it's coming from up there where the laptop is. And it doesn't usually make a rattling noise, but maybe I've been working it too hard lately. I've been it runs 24/7 as my web server now, and then I've been it works real hard when I'm doing a stream and using it to preview my stream. So anyway, this is the one I got on $12.99, and there's 870 ratings, 76% 5 stars. Now some of those, when you get down into it, I always go and read the 1-star ratings and see what's. Oh, there's one that says fake card. I don't care what SD cards you get, you're going to see that, and that's what worries me the most. But I decided, and I like my. I can't think of the brand name. SanDisk. It's a really well-known brand. I have two SanDisk USBs that they're 2 gigabytes. That's how old they are. And I've had them for. And they were kind of, I think they were a little bit older. Well, they might have been not like last year's model when I bought them, but I've had them all these years. I don't know how many years, written them, and formatted them over and over to put, Linux installation ISOs on them, and every other thing under the sun. And they still write just like the day I got them. And so I kind of was thinking I'd get that brand, but there was so many reviews saying they got a fake one on that one, even more than on this one, and they cost twice as much, just about there. But I think they were 19 something on sale, So I decided I kept looking and comparing reviews, and I decided to get this one. And let's see. Yeah, that's I've seen a lot of tests and the pictures on the reviews, and they say, they show how fast they really are and stuff, different ones. But I'm not super crazy about worried about how fast they are, but I don't want one that's super slow either. I want it to be, decent. Anyway, that seemed to be a pretty decent speed. More what they would actually get from what I remember. Well, I don't know about that. 15 megabits write speed. I just never realized that. I don't know. Maybe I bought a slower one. I'd have to go back and do all that comparison again. But it is, it's a class 10, so they're supposed to be able to write a certain speed to be called a class 10. And this one has a 3-year warranty, which is, all right. I can't remember what the warranty was on the other ones. But anyway, this is what I bought. And I just realized all the different things you can. Let's see what this is. And it's 128 gigabytes. It's the first, the biggest ones I've ever had are 64 gigabytes. I got 2 of them in 2 of my phones, and then my other phone is 32. Well, I have 2 32s that are Wintex. They've been great too. And I didn't know anything about the Wintex either. I just was buying what was on sale and had good reviews. And the same thing with the Strontium. I had never heard of them, but I thought they were cool because it came with a full-size adapter and the USB thing. And I've got a lot of use out of that because otherwise I've got 2 laptops that have a full, a full-size SD card slot in them. And, one of them was, not even in running condition. It was under the bed waiting for me to decide to do something with it. And I don't work on they're dual cores, and, I've got this one that I'm using here. It's a quad core, and so that's what I work on. I would say it's the fastest thing I've got, but I actually have something faster now. I haven't got it up and going set up yet. I've got a real server that's two 6-core processors and 64 gig of RAM. I'm dying to get that thing going, and I've got all these other things. Let's see what else. That's 2, evidently. Where does it say how many you get? Yeah, 128 2-pack right there. $24.99. That's actually kind of, well, it's maybe a little bit off. Those are 16. Those are 256. 32, yeah. 32, 64, 64, yeah. Now that I've had, well, it depends on what you want to do with them, but I would definitely not buy anything smaller than 64 now. 64 gigabytes. 128 is probably more. Especially now that you can get it at 128 for $12 or 2 for 24, 25. There you go. There's something to compare right there. I don't know about Samsung. I've never bought. I don't care for the company of the way they operate, and then after the way they acted when their phones batteries started catching on fire and tried to deny it. I really don't want their products. Period. I never have really bought anything of theirs on purpose. I just now bought an adapter, a charger for a mom's Amazon Fire tablet, and I didn't notice. It didn't say that it was a Samsung brand, but that's what it is. It was a good price, and it's what I wanted. It's like specs that I wanted. That there, I never heard of it all. SP. I thought maybe there'd be. I guess they're trying to kind of. Oh no, they're not really sticking on pro. What's that? For $9.73. I don't think I saw. I know I didn't see that last time, but it doesn't look like it. Well, there's no sense in. I don't know why I didn't see that before. I don't know if it comes with an adapter or not. It might, but anyway, since it's not mounting, I don't want to format it just yet. I'm going to go ahead and. What I plan on doing is probably formatting it FAT32, and I don't remember where I read it. I just read it the other day. I always knew that I could format it 64 gig. I was looking at. Oh, it was a Raspberry Pi. I was setting up my Raspberry Pi, my old Raspberry Pi Model B. I'm going to open this up while I'm jabbering away the virtual box, and. Yeah, so let me get this started. I can't walk and talk at the same time. So I can't talk and click at the same time either. So, yeah, I was reading all about it, trying to make sure that the Motion iOS that I was going to put on there, and I was trying to figure out if I could put Fedora on there, because it says it runs, they've got the last couple of distros they've had, they said it would run on Raspberry Pis, but it's the newer. It turned out it's the newer ones, and that's what I expected. But it sounded like it would run on mine at first. But anyway, along the way, I saw something about they were talking about SD cards that would work well with it and everything. And I have a 4 gigabyte that I bought when I bought it, with it, kind of. I think I bought it with the Raspberry Pi. It's kind of a package deal, and it's nothing. It's not a fast one. It's it's back when the Raspberry Pi B came out with the 700 megahertz with 512 megabyte of RAM. This will take a little bit to get where I can use it anyway, get finished booting up. And so anyway, they explained. I always knew I could. I formatted my 64. My phones aren't supposed to go any higher than 32 gigabytes. Read a card any bigger than that. But I formatted them to Fat30. I read something somewhere that said if you format them to Fat32 of 64 gigabyte, it'll work. And so I did. And the only reason I could have got 128s, but they were too expensive back about 3 or 4 years ago when I got those phones. So, and it's worked flawlessly. And then any other machine I've got, a Windows or a Linux machine, the Fat32 will mount perfectly. It'll even mount in Windows 98 if I don't have anything like that. Well, actually, I do have something in the garage that would run probably if I plugged it in, hooked it up. But so they explained that if you format an SD card or a USB stick in Linux, like and they actually mentioned the one I like to use, Gparted. This program right there, that you can. I don't know. They were just talking about, for instance, 64 gigabyte. I don't know if there's a limit to how big you can format and have it work. But with Windows, say especially Windows XP, but they just said Windows in general. And of course, I'm sure they weren't talking about XP because this was a new enough article. That if you use the Windows partition tool, then you can't go. You can't format anything bigger than partition any bigger than 32 gigabytes on an SD card. I've always read that about hard drives too, and I always proved it wrong. I just kind of, I haven't used the Windows partitioning tool since the beginning of Windows XP because I discovered better, easier to use tools, more dependable tools for Windows back when I ran Windows. And then in 2005 I discovered Linux, and Linux is my main OS ever since, and I use Windows a little bit here and there. Like I have this, I would have a Windows 7 virtual machine on here, but this machine can't handle that. It can't run the Linux and then Windows 7 on top, but it can just get by with running XP. So let's see if I can mount that thing. You notice there's nothing there. Well, this wasn't even running when I plugged it in, but it wouldn't. What it does when it works, I used to, this is not mounted, so I don't know. We'll see. Since it didn't mount in here, usually it's already mounted in here, and then the XP virtual machine can take it from, basically just take it from the Linux. Okay, optical drives, let's see. Yeah, that's a bunch of ISOs and stuff. I didn't realize you could see those in there. Oh, that's not in XP. That's in. I got to be careful about that. Let's see. How do you get to? Let's go full screen so I won't get confused. Host F. Okay, I think it's going to be the right control in F, or else the left control. Maybe it's virtual machine will now. Okay, yeah. Got to make sure I know how to do that. Right control, yeah. Okay, so can't use the left control. It's not an either or thing. That's what I thought. Oh, okay. The main menu bar. Now I guess they're talking about this up here. I think not in XP. Host home. Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually use home and end all the time. The page up and down in programs and the terminal and everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to hit switch. That's actually good to have that. Okay, see, oh, I saw, oh, look, that wasn't there the last time I was in here. Oh. Oh, I forgot about that. I still need this. It's a good thing I can still get to that. I just happened to see it jump up. Shared folder, shared clipboard, network, audio. Okay, so USB. Well, let's go to USB settings. I got a feeling I ain't going to be able to do it. Won't be able to get it to where I can see it. Oh, I didn't know you could do that while it was running. Okay, there's add. No devices available. Yeah, you see it's USB 1, and I guess, I don't know if it's still this way or not, but you couldn't use USB 2.0 or 3. It maybe now you can use 2. I have it in 1, notice that. With the free version of VirtualBox, you have to pay for it to get some of those features. This is not open source software, this is VirtualBox. Or it's not open source in the sense, if the source is open, it's not free and open source. But I can put it that way. I don't know if the source is open for you to get or not. Some of this commercial software, proprietary software that decided to go open source, they do things like that. You know, they make it sort of like trialware, you know, or not exactly trialware, but limited functionality unless you pay for it, like they do with Windows. You know, it won't stay there long enough for me to read it. I'm trying to. Okay. But this used to work in USB 1 mode, but everything I had would work well. Now this stick might not work. This stick that I just stuck in there probably doesn't support USB 1. I just thought of that. Because it's way newer than my old. Now my old USB sticks, that's what I used to use, you know, and hard drives. Like on the USB adapter, I have a USB adapter. Okay, so you can't actually, well, it's just no devices available. It's not that you couldn't do it. And you can't change those settings with that. That's what I thought. Now, those up there that are grayed out, you have to shut down, change the settings, and then boot back up. I can try that, but I think I've tried it 15 times on this version of VirtualBox. But yeah, I can't do any USBs with it like that. And I hit Control F and it went back to the normal. I don't think it's done. Well, it didn't. That's kind of things go funky when you do that, don't they? It took it a while to come back. Okay. Turn it off. And I didn't remember that I couldn't mount an XFET in Fedora 28. Thought I could. I know I can. Oh yeah, it's not one of the things you can use. The other day I was looking and I was formatting my 32 gigabyte SD card to put you to Fat32. Well, I had Fedora on it, and I was taking that off and just making it Fat32 to use in my Raspberry Pi, and I saw that XFAT wasn't one of the options to format a partition to. So I had to wait for it to completely shut down before it's not. You can just close it and hard shut it down, but that with XP it can break it sometimes. So I don't want to do that. You can do that with Linux operating systems, and most 99% of the time get away with it. Okay, let's go into settings. I do remember going round and around trying to be able to mount. Used to I could access CD drives, DVDs. I could, as long as it was set on USB 1.1. Now let's see if we can add something first too. No devices available. What's that one? Oh, what's that? I didn't even click on that. Adds a new filter with all fields initially set to empty strings. Note that such filter will match any attached USB devices. I might have been able to do that. I didn't try to do that. Well, let's just leave it like that and try with USB 2.0 because that'd definitely be better. It may support USB 2.0 since that's so, why not? Okay, because two-controller state is part of the saved VM state. VM cannot be started. What? Install the Oracle VMbox Extensio NPAC or disable 2.0 to start NVM settings. Note, this error could also mean that an compatible version of the Oracle VM VirtualBox extension NPAC is installed. Oh. Okay. Well, I don't know, and I'm certainly not going to sit here on not fiddling with that. I've done it before. So I'm just going to go back to 1.0, and if that thing won't be seen in 1.0, then I don't remember ever seeing it work in 2.0. I don't remember. Honestly, I just don't remember either. It's been so long since I've seen it work now. It used to work up until, well, in Fedora 23, I don't think I ever got it working. And then I skipped from Fedora 23 to Fedora 28. Now I'm going to be, if I ever get this thing updated again, I'll be skipping from Fedora 28 to Fedora 30 or 31. So once I get something set up, I just always say, oh, I'll do that later, and because it takes so much work to get all of my applications the way I want them and get them all installed. And that is even since let's see, in Fedora 23 is when I discovered group install, how to do group installs in Fedora, and I already had been making install scripts for years. What I would do is you can use a couple of ways to get a list of all your installed apps, and I would make a list and then turn it into a script, a text file, and then turn it into a script. And then I started doing it with group installs. But that still takes time and a lot of work, It's way quicker than doing them one at a time, though, the way I used to do it before that. So years ago, it took 2 or 3 months, to do it that way. So let's kind of make sure it's booted up. Okay, now I'm not gonna do full screen again right now. Let's see. Optical drives, choose a disk, okay, audio. I want to make sure I'm just not missing anything. Okay. And it might, well, I don't think it would see it. We'll see. So this is just USB settings. Okay, so that's not actually gonna, adds a USB filter with all fields. Okay, now what's this here? Edit selected USB filter. Removes. Okay. Let's see what happens if you do that. No, you still can't do that. Okay, so that's keyboard. That's what I thought. It could be. It used to be right there in devices where you could add, mount a USB. That's for choose a disk image, create ad hoc Viso. I don't even know what that is. Anyway, there's some ISOs and stuff, but I don't know. I guess I didn't even remember that being there because I wouldn't want to be mounting an ISO inside of XP. If I was going to mess with an ISO, I'd do it in Linux. Network settings, USB. Yeah, okay, see right there, no USB device is connected. That's where they would be if it was seeing them. Well, that never mounted, so let me try and see if it shows up in XP. I'll just unplug it. I put it in the other USB port just in case. Sometimes when you get an error on one port, it actually will not work again for that device or maybe even any USB device until after you reboot. If you get an error like that, like I got. I didn't see that error again though. It's not going to happen. I don't know why. it quit working. Maybe it's there may be some add-ons that I need to add to. I forgot what it said a while ago. Oh yeah, there was that add-on for USB 2.0. Now that could be another thing. Like I said, this probably may not even support USB 1, so I might need to seriously go after that again. But I'm getting ready to rebuild this system. I can't even add new software to this virtual XP virtual machine because it's like only got 1.3 gigabytes left space on it. And I actually figured out how to resize, enlarge the images, the VirtualBox images, and it worked. It looked perfect. And then the first time I booted it up again, it went back to the same size it was before, somehow on its own automatically. And so I messed with it for a day or two, and I got tired of messing with it. So I might, and I didn't want to rebuild this system. It's just the way I want it, this XP here. I didn't want to mess. That even takes longer software-wise, you know. Although there is well, there's that little error message right there. Okay. I don't know how come it got hidden up in there, but well, I guess I can just leave that in that slot. I don't have any use for exFAT, so I'm going to go ahead and format it. I like to use search. So, yeah, because I can't do anything with it if it can't mount it in my machine. And that there is a Windows program. That's why I got it. Another reason I got into Windows. There's a Windows program that I knew I downloaded a program a year or two or three ago that was check for fake flash. I was kind of beginning to talk about that, and then I got off. But it's a Windows program. But if I can't mount it in there, then I can't do that. So we have to be really careful. You see, I've got my backup drives of 7.28 and a 4.55 terabyte. 116 gigabytes, that'll be my 128. So that's what you get on a 128 gigabyte, is actually 116.43 gigabytes. And the first one is my operating system. It's got 16 megabytes of unallocated space. And and then the rest is, I wonder if I can get a little bit back this time. Doubt it. Unable to read the contents of this file system. Yes, we knew that because it told us that when. What I want to do is make sure it's not, well, I know it's not mounted, but I want to make sure it's not busy being activated or anything. Let's see, it doesn't look like it. But you know what? In this menu I'm in here, when you right click on it, there used to be deactivate option. And it's not there anymore in gparted. And so what that Fedora, when you plug in one with the Fedora partitions on it in Fedora, it will activate them automatically. And so it gave errors and everything else, but then it turned out, I ended up getting around it. So what I'm going to do here is, I just am used to using right click, you can do up there or whatever, but I'm going to delete this because I don't want any exFAT. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see. I get scared because, boy, if you hit the wrong, you're going, it's not that you may lose data, you're deleting everything when you do this. So this is destructive, so if you want to do this, be very careful that you're on the right, drive, disk, SD card, whatever it is, that you're not on your hard drives, or in my case, I have 2 USB backup drives in there. And I don't really need these screenshots. I'm so used to doing that to keep track of what I'm doing, but I don't really need them right now at this point. Let me check my sound. or my stream altogether, actually. I'm not, when I stop to check it, sometimes it takes, well, I can't hardly see it, and I can't, the screen's small, and I'm trying to, and the mouse that I'm using is that wireless mouse, and it jumps real far, and, it's not like the one I'm used to, so I can't hit the little button to click it on. Okay, so now we have, well, see, we still only have 116 gigabytes, so we're not getting anything back. Okay, so now I'm going to right click and say new. Okay, so that deleted the, oh no, it's going to let me do it. So the last time it had an error message, and so if you lose your, thank God, this would have to be closed for me to click on any of that. Yeah, let's see. One of those I'll click on it. One of those you have to create a partition table. The device or partition, it might be under partition. And you have to, first you got to create if you have that error, then you have to create a partition table. Then you can format it like this. And so you got to make sure and pick what kind of file system you want. The default is ext4. I want Fat32. So you got all these you could choose from. XFS is, for a while there I had those EXFAT and XFS confused in my head, and then I did a bunch of studying on it one day. Well, I was originally studying on I was just kind of researching in general, but it was BTRFS. I was thinking about formatting my backup drives to BTRFS. My 8 terabyte, I ended up going with ext4 because BTRFS is kind of cool because it's sort of a software RAID. It has its own backup inside of it. It backs up. I wouldn't go try to explain it right now, but anyway, ext4 is just a straight partition, it's a good one. It doesn't break easily. If it does get broke, it'll actually, when Linux boots, it'll try to fix it. Well, it'll do 2, 3, and 4. And the reason I was thinking about doing that is because I had my first one, my 5, well, they're called 5 terabyte and 8 terabyte Seagate backup, USB backup drives. Well, the first one, I left it NTFS the way it came, and it broke 3 or 4 times. I had to fix it, and I was afraid I was going to lose the data, but all I had to do was run, I forgot the name of the program. Fixed disk is for Linux, whatever it is in Windows. I used to run it. Used to do it all the time. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give this a name or a label. Call it 128 GB, because that's what it says on the outside, and you'll kind of remember it. And it's usually a good idea to leave that. You can take that out on SD cards, but if you ever decide, I want to make this into something bootable, then you wouldn't have to reformat it. You'd have a space there for, that's really what that's left there for. Maybe if some other things I don't know about, but that's what I know about that it's there for. You can have a boot record, give you a place to put your MBR. Well, with Linux, it's a little different. It's different. It's using Grub bootloader most of the time in Linux. But anyway, it's good to have that. And I've read before, over and over, years ago, before I ever got into Linux, hard drives would actually give errors if you didn't leave. I think some of them you had with Windows you had to leave 3 or 5 megabytes of space or something. It's been one ever since I've been using that I can remember that it defaults to, and that seems to be enough. I've never had any trouble. I have at times just did it just because I want, say like on my 2 gigabyte USB sticks, and that 1 more megabyte might actually help me, to get an ISO on there or something. I've went all the way to the beginning and never had any trouble, but booting with Grub. So anyway, and at the end you don't really usually need any at the end, any free space at the end. So I'm going to say add, and then so this is what we're going to get, and and then so now we can say go. It says data loss again. And I like to click that usually and set, if I'm going to be here watching it, some things, if you do a bunch of operations at once, I like to not do a bunch of different. You can just keep adding operations and then click go. But if you get an error with one, it gets all kind of confusing trying to figure it out. So I like to do, things that I know do have potential. Things like deleting a partition, things that have a larger potential for having errors. I'll do them one at a time. Anyway, this is all the information that it gives you step by step what happened. I'm not even going to try to read it or anything. Kind of tired. It's kind of, well, before I started, I was having I always have trouble with allergies and drainage and stuff, and so I took some medicine, and now my throat's so dry I can hardly talk. It's always one thing or another. So, and if you're not familiar with Linux, this is how this is where the address of the dev. If you on the machine, if you go to dev, you'll see this is where they're. It's not where they're mounted, but it's where they're. I can't think how to say it, but anyway, dev SDD1, but it's automatically given when drives are mounted. It'll be like SDD, or I'll go up there and show the others. But anyway, make FS Fat32, it all work. Dev SDD1. Someone hit close, then I can kind of finish my sentence. So there it is. It's all good. It's green. And see up there, Dev SDA, that's my hard drive that I'm running machine off of. Dev SDB is the 8 terabyte hard drive. SDC is the 5 terabyte hard drive, and then SDD is this one here. And see, it automatically gave it the SDD because all those others were already there whenever I plugged it in. So, and then you need to make sure everything's okay, unplug it and plug, see it's not mounted, you don't see it. That's one thing nice, when something's mounted, you'll see it on the desktop. And if you don't, you may have to go look it. Well, you can always tell in Gparted, or there's another application here that'll help you. If you have anything that Gparted can't do, or maybe you just don't understand it, well, there's the new one, the Blivit GUI. That's a partition editor. And then disk management's not the one. I always forget the name of. Maybe that was it. One of them's just showing how much data is on your disk and stuff, and the other one is a partition tool. I may not have installed since the Blivit GUI has come out. May not have installed the old one. I think it was just called Genome Disks or something, actually. And of course, this is Mate, which is that I'm using, which is built on, is forked off of Genome 2 when they went to Genome 3. And it works just like Genome 2, and that's one of the main reasons I really liked Linux, was the desktop that it came with, so, or Fedora did. So, there's a disk uses analyzer. Maybe that is. Oh yeah, you have to have root privileges to run that. That's not the one I was thinking of. I'll just open. I wasn't going to, but I'll open the Blivit GUI. Oh yeah, see, this one lets you Gparted, and this one here lets you type in your root password. Oh yeah, I never did mention that, but that's what you got to do there, is type in your root password, because this ain't Ubuntu. You don't type in your regular user password in Fedora to get root privileges, or to get pseudo root privileges. In Fedora, you get real root privileges, full root privileges, and you type in the root password. So you have to know that to do any of this. So yeah, see, here they are. They're laid out a little differently, and that's SDA, the hard drive. And there you can see this is the boot partition, 1024 megabyte. That's a gigabyte of for the boot partition, and that's a ext4. And then the LVM, the logical volume management, has the rest of your operating system. And it's actually kind of, well, it used to be divided up in there too, but it doesn't look like it is in this, in what you're looking at here. They have changed it some. And then here is my 8 terabyte drive. I don't know why it's mounting before in the list before the 4 terabyte. I think of it as the 5 terabyte, then 8 terabyte, because that's the way I use them. But it's probably just because of what USB I've got them plugged into, I guess. I really don't know. They're plugged in the back. But it's mounting them that way. The order of the letters, what I'm talking about is this is, well, there's SDA, and then the LVM is on SDA. It's part of that same physical drive, and then SDB 1, and then SDC 2. They've got a little number at the end, and then SDD 1. And there's more. See, this is. I was going to say, why is there an LVM written right there? Oh, I see. This is a breakdown of the LVM. It's let's open that up bigger, maybe. Yeah, here's a breakdown. This is actually my hard drive. This is the breakdown of the LVM. There's Fedora Home, Fedora Root, and then the swap, Fedora swap. That's all within the LVM. It used to be a little bit, well, the swap used to be in its own separate partition. It wasn't in the LVM. But now this is how it is since I think Fedora 23 at least. And that's all on the SDA. That's what this LVM is on, the SDA, the hard drive. It's a 250 gigabyte hard drive that my system's on. So this is what I was trying to mumble around about earlier. So this one's good for being able to, if you actually, now here's a view of the physical view of the physical volume. There's the SDA. That's actually just the boot partition. It has grub on it and some other, the images for the operating system and stuff. And then this is, actually I don't know by those pictures what those are. This is easier to understand. It tells you what's what, you know. And see, it's 178 gigabyte in my home partition. That's what my regular user is on and all my personal files. And then the root partition for the root user, which is like in Windows, is the admin user, you know. It has its own partition and everything. You don't want to get in there and work, because if you're in there and you do something wrong, you can destroy your system, or if somebody breaks into your system, then they're breaking in to root, and they can destroy your system and completely in a heartbeat. If they know how to do that, they'll know how to destroy your system. And then the swap partition, I think they're getting away from that. I've been reading that they're not going to have swap partitions in Fedora anymore. But this does, Fedora 28 does. Pretty good size, 3.8 gigabyte. And that's kind of, you can think, that if you've heard of the Windows swap files, just a place for files to be temporarily written to speed up the work, you know. And then they can just be deleted as files are being written to the hard drive. But anyway, and see, when you look at it in this view, all you see is just the boot partition and the LVM. But when you look at it in the logical volume management view, then you see what's really there and where it is. But these are just, I forgot the word, they are just one partition, the whole drive, ext4. And I did this one as ext4, see. I used gparted, I think, to do it, though. But, and then this one, well, here's what I was talking about. This is the way Seagate built it. Okay, there's 128 megabyte SDC1 that is, you know, it's got like I'm pretty sure that's where the software is for it to back up to the cloud, and all that sort of stuff is on there. You see, it kind of wastes that much space, even. You know, I mean, I don't have any use for any of that. But I had already started backing up on it and had too many files, and I didn't have any place to put them. And now I could, and I will probably. What my plan is to take this drive out of its case and put it in my server. I think I mentioned that server a while ago. I need to open up the case and see one day. It's out of warranty now, so you know I'm not too worried. I didn't want to do it while it was in warranty. Now it's out of warranty, so not worried about breaking a seal, you know, and killing the warranty or anything. And see NTFS. And I really was sorry that I started using that NTFS once I got a bunch of files on there and it kept breaking. And actually, what I was doing, I thought it was, what I did is I plugged them into this drive. I had it first, and then later, a year or two later, I bought the 8 terabyte. I plugged it into my power strip, the one that I could turn on and off at night. Like when I would turn off the computer and quit, I would turn it off. Because I thought, you know, there's no sense in that thing being powered up, using up its cache, and it's filling up its RAM never getting emptied out, and its cache never getting emptied out. And if there's lightning or anything, you know, if it's on, it's going to more likely get destroyed than if it's turned off, you know, even though it's still plugged into the power strip. And they are protecting power strips, but and I have lost some electronics before, you know, over a year, long time. We did actually get a lightning strike that went down our neighbors saw it going down our power line, and we lost. Well, it damaged a router. It would never work right, but it still worked. And those HD TV tuners, when we were switching over to, you know, still had CRT TVs, but, well, I still have the CRT TV in here, but I don't really use it anymore. But anyway, that's the whole thing. That's what I was going on about. And so this one is good for, and that other one, I think it's called Genome Disk. It's made like this. It looks a lot like this, not exactly. But when this first came out, it wasn't really finished, this Blivet, and it didn't work very well. So you still really needed to have G-parted to, it would give errors and stuff. And that other one actually, it never worked well for formatting. I tried to use it to format things to Fat32, and it would always give errors. So the Genome Disk, so I always used G-parted for that. But then there were other things that you can't do in G-parted that you can do in here. And if you're just trying to understand your disk and what's going on with them, this is really good for that. So I don't know why I got off into all that, but I did. Okay, I was fixing to mount that. Unplug it. Plug it back in. There it goes. Right away, 128 gigabyte. And of course, there's no files on it, but now it's ready to use. And so if I just want to, write files to it, I can do that. If I end up wanting to put an operating system on it, it depends on what kind it is, but if it's Fedora, it'll reformat the whole thing to the use Fedora media writer. I'm not going to open it this time, and it'll do it all for you. But if you're using something else like the Bane or something, then let's see. Do I even have? Yeah, I still have UNet booting, but I'm thinking it doesn't work anymore. In Fedora 28, I don't think it ever. I don't know. It was my favorite, and it worked for years in Fedora. And there's a new one that I've got. I just used that one. It's pretty easy, but it's only for SD cards, really. Well, it says it'll do USB, but it won't do ISOs. It'll only do zips, and open it up. I don't think it takes long to get it going there. I'm going to close this. And it won't, it'll write it to, if it's formatted FAT32, it'll just write it on there without just doing it destructively. It'll just write the files. It does take a while to open it. There you go. Here it is. So select an image. So if you go to select an image, I'll just show as an example. I'm not needing to do that right now, but if I was going to do a Raspberry Pi image, let's say and see my little old 4 gigabyte full-size SD card is not big enough, but I can put this one in the full-size adapter, and I may end up doing that. I don't know if I'd use this card or that. This one I might put in my camera and then get that 32 gigabyte to do this with, but I might put my Fedora server, not Fedora, I'd have to be Bane on there because it won't run Fedora, the old Raspberry Pi. But I did do Motion iOS. Now, some of these zips you have to unzip them, and some of them, it depends. on whether or not it's inside of the zip file there's an image file, or if inside of the zip file it's just all the files. And you can find that you can see that by using an an unpacking program. But anyway, you could select. I think you can do the image XZ or the IMG files. Anything that's showing should only be showing up. Yeah, see, I think there might be, well, let's go into a folder with an ISO and see. Yeah, see, it doesn't see any ISOs. I know there are ISOs in there. Oh, it does see ISOs. The last time I opened this up, it would not show ISOs. But it says OS images. Maybe it will do ISOs. I didn't think it would. Because I was thinking about trying to put Fedora, when I was thinking that it would run on the Raspberry Pi, the Fedora server, like that one right there, I was thinking about putting it on there. I can do, but if it'll do that, I won't be without something. It's easy to use, and I'm not wanting to do anything. So first you have to select something, and then you can select a target. It's real good at finding your USB or SD card too. It doesn't want how to select your hard drive. I don't know if that wasn't plugged in. It might select one of these. That would be bad because it would. I guess it wouldn't. Depends on what kind of deal. Well, like I said, if it's well, you don't want to try to do Fedora with this. So I just said that, and now I remember it wouldn't work. But yeah, Fedora has to be done. It has to be formatted and divided up into partitions. Now that I'm all rambling on about this, let me go in here. I don't think I want anything on that. I might. I've been thinking so many things in my head. This was supposed to be a quick video, and now I'm sidetracked. Okay, so now in Crusader, my favorite file manager, and if you've got a zip file, you can just hit enter, and it'll open it up, and you see what's in there. See, it's a whole bunch of files. So that would write straight from the zip file with that program, like I was saying. So I'm trying to think of one that I knew wouldn't. Okay, this one's the same way. See, it's just unpacking it right there in the program. You don't have to open up a separate program. Now, some types of file compression, it won't open that way, and you'll have to open it up the other way. This one has an IMG inside. So that one, Raspberry Buster, is it already done? I think you have to extract it. I might have just went ahead and deleted the ISO to keep from confusing myself. But Raspberry Buster, you need to extract that one because, and then it will use that IMG, and it will extract that IMG and write it to the SD card. But these ones that are already extract, they never were compressed into an. See, we're dealing with all these different kinds of file compression. Zip files, everybody's probably heard of that if you run Windows anyway. That's just a bunch of files in a zip file. You probably, most people know that. That one is a folder inside of a zip file. I don't know if that would give a problem or not. You might have to extract that one and then pick that folder. I'm not sure. I've just now started using it. I've only used it that one time. This one, see, it's just falls straight into the zip. So that's what I did right away. I already, I've ran into this stuff with other programs, so I knew what to do. But yeah, I think this one here was the one that threw me off. Oh, I know, Motion iOS was the one I was doing. Let's see. Yeah, there's a folder in there. I think I did end up having to extract it first, and then it did it. Because I remember it says it'll do zip files, and then it didn't. Let's see, here's one that's an IMG. Notice that's the exact same name. That one had to be extracted. That's why it's already extracted. I don't know if you can, if I hit enter on this, okay, yeah, let's see. Okay, images. It opens up that program I was just, or is this that one I think this might be the genome disks. But it says, Oh yeah, it says image to restore. Now this is one of the things you can do with that program I just closed, and I'm not sure which one this is. It looks to me more like Genome Disks, and then Destination None. But what you can do is restore. You use this to restore an image, IMG or an ISO, to a drive. You can make an image. You can make an IMG or an ISO of a drive or a partition. So you can use this to restore it, and it's actually pretty useful. I never really used it that way because I always use Clonezilla, but you could use it to back up partitions and stuff and then restore them later. I'm hitting. You definitely don't want to do that. See, it automatically selected my hard drive that my operating system's on. That could be bad. So that's not common for you to have this program. I've never remember seeing this program pop up like that when you just click. I just hit enter on that IMG .xc file. It's confusing because there's a dot there, and then I know there's another dot because it's showing up as a file extension. But let's see let's see which one this is. Disks. It's not well, it is Genome Disk. See, Genome Disk Utility. This is just called disks. Okay, so this is the other one. I never did see it in there for some reason. This is the one I was really used to using. See, as you might notice now, it's quite similar to the other one, but a little bit different. One of the main things would be, and it shows your CD drive. Let's go on see how they're all listed. In some ways, that other one's kind of more clear as to what you're looking at. There's it is. Yeah, I was used to this, but so this is the 125 gigabyte storage, mass storage device. It sees it as a 125 gigabyte. Now it's really a 120. It's named 128 gigabyte. It really only has 116 gigabytes. So, like Dave Jones like to say, it's a trap for new players. There's one right there. This different disk management, partition and disk management applications will see them differently. This one says 125 gigabyte drive. And then, everything else we saw, we know that in Gparted, we know that it only really has 116 point something gigabytes usable space. And that same thing happens with file managers. You'll see a little bit different file sizes. But anyway, let's say I wanted to, it's different than the one I used to use it for this, but let's see. Got to be real careful. Okay, this is where you could format, resize, repair, restore. There you go. Restore a partition image. So you could actually do that and then go into your, like I have some partition images in here in my, where's my folder? I could pick, well now it would actually work if you picked one of these. Well, if it was, you're going to put it in a Raspberry Pi, you could actually restore one of these. The only thing is, whatever size these are, I think that's what you would get on that. You would lose your extra space. So it's complicated, and you really need to study up on how to do it. But I just saw that come up, and it also brought up the drive that the only time I ever had a need to use that was for a while. That's how they told you to set up a USB or an SD card to boot Linux, Fedora, not Linux, Fedora Linux. And it was actually really easy. You just find that ISO for the one you're wanting to boot, and tell it to restore it to this, make sure it's the right drive, the one you want to do, because you don't want to ruin any of your data on anything. And it worked flawlessly. But they changed it. Now they have they've always had the Fedora Media Writer for as long back as I can remember, but it didn't, it was kind of a work in progress, I guess was the main thing. They didn't always say, hey, go use that. But, yeah, that's, I haven't decided whether I want to put this USB drive in the camera. It depends on once I ever get this new I'm talking about my new Seektronic security camera that, of course, means nothing. In this video, I've made video every day. I've been working on it, and so I'm kind of forgetting that, I haven't shown it or explained it or anything. I'm sitting there looking at it. This security camera is, I'll just grab it for a second. Since I think I've talked about it 3 or 4 times now. So here it is. I mounted it on an old piece of scrap wood just to have a way to hold it up while I was testing it. But I have a 32 gigabyte SD card in it. It's underneath. There's a speaker in there, and you take the speaker cover off, and you put it. Then you can get to the motherboard to plug it in, and or the main board, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, it's wireless, and you can also plug Ethernet, but you have to plug in power to make it work. And anyway, if the card's going to fill up quick, then I'd want the 128 in there. But if it's not, then all I really need to run just my web server, if I was going to run my web server on that Raspberry Pi, then let me go ahead and put my camera back in normal position. My neck pillow always falls when I lean forward. My neck gets really tired really easy, so I've always used that. Especially, the way I like to lean back. My head would be too far back without it anyway. Okay, so anyway, that's why I started going around in circles. Well, do I actually want to do that or anything, like, here I am. Maybe I should just go ahead and... But I've been on a learning curve here with this camera. I've worked with USB and with IP cameras via USB, set them up to access over IP, over the local network. And my phones, that's how I've been doing my videos. My phones are streaming over the Wi-Fi for, like, I can kind of show, okay, here's an example. This is the IP address of this phone that is streaming video of me, and that's just, that all that I've been doing that for about 3 years now, and OBS. But I started learning how to do that sort of thing back when I got my first USB camera when they were first invented, back in the early 2000s when they came out. Well, I guess they may have had some in. I don't know when they were first invented now, but when they first became a popular thing and they were affordable, and I got one. Actually, my first one I got for free. I think it was considered to be so bad that it didn't. I mean, it still works to this day perfectly. There was nothing wrong with it. I got it for free, but I think I did have to. I can't believe I actually did it, but I had to, do a rebate. I'm terrible at doing rebates, but I think it was free with a rebate. So it was along with another, something I was ordering. But anyway, best free camera I ever got. This is all of 320 by something resolution. Still working. Almost, golly, maybe 20 years later. I might have got it in 2000. Well, that would have been 19. Well, it's fixing to be 20 years. So anyway, I was messing with it. I still have it up there on the shelf. And one time, not too long ago, I guess when I started having to use one of my cameras for security camera, I needed a security camera fast, and I didn't have any, and didn't know. And I tried to just buy one or a set, and turned out they're just it's my new favorite word, I guess, minefield or anything that has a whole lot of, a minefield of different features, and of course them trying to make it sound like the best thing in the world when it's not, and they're not straightforward. They're not like, like I've always tried to keep up with DSLR versus video camera, you know, and all that stuff for all these years, and always dreamed of having that $3,500 camera. Not dreaming way up there. 3,500 is all, you know, 2,000, 3,500. That's all I wanted. But I've never. Well, I could buy one right now, but I don't want to spend that much, you know. I never could for all those years, but now I could. But of course, I'd be giving up something that I'm saving for that I want more. So don't want to do that. It's not just because I'm cheap. So anyway, yeah, I've actually was my next thing with the Raspberry Pi. I will either put Raspberry Buster. I might put Noobs on there because it comes, just try out. What did it come with? Forgot. It has 2 operating systems you can boot in there. It's I guess it's Raspberry Buster, and then that's the newest version of. I guess that's the newest version of Debian, or unless Raspberry Pi is just calling it Buster. I haven't paid enough attention. Anyway, I don't. Oh, let's see. Yeah, there it is. So Raspberry Full. Well, they're just calling it just Raspberry Full. It's not saying Buster, but it may be Buster. And then Libre ELEC, which I used to have Open ELEC on that Raspberry Pi. It's a lightweight version of XBMC, or what do they call it now? I always forget. They changed the name of it. And once they changed the name, and by that time it had gotten bloated so much that it wouldn't run. Kodi. I tried running Kodi on it, and when it first changed to Kodi, it couldn't play any videos. The operating system was so heavy on it, you know. And so then I ran OpenELEC. So that's what that is. It is a Raspberry Pi version of, or I guess, well, it may just be this, you know, Libre Office. What do I have on here now? I got LibreOffice. It may be that they decided to make that. I mean, it says Libre on there. I don't know. Oh, when you say, okay, so there's 3 RPI. That would be the one that would run on mine. And then Raspberry Pi 2, and then Raspberry Pi 4. Where's Raspberry Pi 3? I don't know. But there you go. And actually, if that's all you wanted, that's all you would need to run that, I guess. Well, it's all set to go together, so I don't think I would try breaking it up. If you wanted it, I'd go to the website and get it, you know, just that by itself. But anyway, you get those 2 with the Noobs. I thought, well, that'd be kind of interesting, but really it wouldn't be that interesting to me because I had different forms of XBMC on that thing for 2+ years. I had it in the living room hooked up to the TV all the full time. I built it for my mom to use to watch. You know, I thought it might be easy. She doesn't. You can just hook up a computer to the TV has an HDMI input, and I've got the laptop she's using right now could hook up to it, and I even kind of toyed with the idea of doing that, but she didn't want to have to use a web browser or learn how to use VLC or any of that stuff. So I thought, well, that's just, to me, looking at XBMC, I had played with it a lot, and I thought, well, that's just like a cable TV interface or something, you know. She'd probably be able to do that. But she didn't, never could even remember how to switch the inputs on the TV, you know, to get to it. And she didn't really like going through the many menus and everything. I don't like that. I'd rather go to the web browser or to VLC to play stuff, you know. Or I go to the file browser and play it in VLC. You know, if I'm playing files that I already have, I just right-click and say open with VLC. And if I want to watch something, I'll go in the web browser to watch it, whether it's a YouTube or wherever else I might go. Mostly all I go is YouTube anymore. But so anyway, yeah, that kind of helps me think. Really, that's probably what I'm just going to put on there, unless I've been kind of looking. I haven't found any pre-made server distros that would run on the old Raspberry Pi B that I have. It's really not. I ran my web server for years, quite a few years now. I started out on a 450 megahertz Pentium 3 Dell. It's still it's still my footstool. It got to be such a good footstool, I didn't want to move it once I quit using it. And then I went to an IBM single core Celeron with I got 2 gig. I got 2 gig RAM in it and 2.5 gigahertz, and that was just perfect. I mean, it didn't ever slow down or anything, and I couldn't. Once in a while, I would get on it to look something up or just to work on it or something. I had a Mate desktop on it. I think I had XFCE and Mate on it, and I had, let's see, I can't remember if I had Fedora 23, and then I went to, I don't know if I had 3 different Fedora versions or 2. I remember I had Fedora 23 server. I don't know if I built that myself or if I think that was the first year the Fedora server came out. Yeah, the first year that the Fedora server came out, I put it on that. And I think it was Fedora 23. So then I went to 29. No, wait. I don't think I got that far on it. And then the fans started getting really loud, and I couldn't stand it in here. That's when I started using the Acer laptop and put Fedora 29 server on it. And when I did that, I had installed Mate desktop, and I think XFCE, but they wouldn't start up. You wouldn't get to the login, the GUI login screen, and it would still just go to the command line. But if you type start X space Mate, or I guess XFCE is all you need to do for XFCE, and then it'll go in. First, you got to log in, as a user. Well, actually, you can log in as root, it'll work perfectly. But if you log in as regular user, then you got to do SU and get root privileges, and then it'll work. So, but before, I think it was Fedora 23. It would just boot up to the GUI login screen and just sit there and run the server. And then if you wanted to log in, you could log in. And I liked it much better that way. You had to go find. I liked it. It was hard. I had to go find the instructions on how to make. Because you could just install a desktop, but it still wouldn't work. You had to run a couple of commands and stuff. But now when you're on the newer version, in 29, it still wouldn't boot, do the login screen or anything. So what was the point of all that? I'm talking about servers. Okay, so the Raspberry Pi Model B, 700 megahertz with 512 megabyte of RAM, it'll run Debian. They say it'll run. Oh, let's see. Oh, that's just Debian. I was going to say, I believe Buster is supposed to run on it. If it doesn't, I'd have to go back to an older version. And so then I might, I really want, for my web server, I want the newest version. Whatever operate, if I'm using Debian or Fedora, I want the newest one, and I want it auto updates all the time for security. I don't want to run an older version because I don't want somebody to hack into my web server and then go from there into my personal machines. I always try to just keep just my web server on there and none of my personal files on my servers. So that if they did get in there, they would not get any of my personal files. But there's if you know how to get in through 2 routers, and well, actually with that, I don't have to go through 1 router the way I have it now. Go through your router, which a lot of people know how to do, sadly, and then get into this firewall in your software firewall in your machine. I do have two firewalls, one in the router and one in the operating system. If they know how to do that, then they probably would also know how to get out of there and get into, the rest of your network. But I don't want to be using an older version just to use an older machine. I'll just use something that can run the newest. Like here's a whole bunch of different versions of, I forgot I had the ARM version. Yeah, there's ARM-F, straight real Debian, not Raspberry Pi's version. And then there's i386net install, but you can use that to install, like say that IBM, the single core machines, and that would be what you'd need for them. And then Oh, and Debian's kind of funky because if you want your drivers, you need to get that one there, the one that says firmware. I don't know if they've always done that or but anyway, I recently discovered that with Debian 10 here. And then there's AMD 64 net install. I like the net installs because then you can pick the software you want. You can go ahead and well, you can pick the server, get the server installed automatically for you and everything up and going instead of having to manually do it. And then AMD 64. Used to, AMD 64 meant AMD processors only, but now they do work. I guess they're just trying to shorten the file name. It's kind of like it's a given that it works on Intel, but it also works on AMD. They put the AMD and then 64-bit. It gets confusing now because I still remember when you had to get, if you wanted had an AMD processor, it had to say AMD. If it said AMD, then it wouldn't work on an Intel processor, in the file name. So, but now they all Debian, Fedora, they pretty much always. But then when you get off into the ones that will run on ARM, then there's a whole bunch of variations there. Fedora has one that's called AMD. I'll look at it in a minute. I'll show it. So there's AMD 64 Mate, non-free, so that would have the drivers on it, I guess. And then, then there's the firmware one. That's going to have more drivers on it. But that's not Mate Desktop. But if it's a net install, you can pick whatever desktop you want. So Mate net install is slower because it doesn't. It's not already downloaded. It has to download. And there's all the. Have I got more than one ISO? No, just one ISO. That's just all the checksums and everything. So anyway, that's what's. I don't know. There's another choice. RMF net install. Let's see. I've done something here. Let's see. There we go. Supported architectures. That's what you need to know. RMF with hardware FPU. I don't know. I think I picked the wrong thing because looky there, 32-bit MIPS. No, that's completely different. MIPS. I guess I decided that RMF would be the thing that should run on my Raspberry Pi. Yeah, MIPS is something I've never had a machine that does that. Oh, and then there's another screenshot there. Oh, okay. 3 different ARM ports. There we go. RMF works only on newer 32-bit ARM processors, which implement at least ARM v7. Okay, now I know that won't work on mine because I just figured out that mine's an ARM v6. And that's another crazy thing because when you look it up, everything says ARM 11. And I don't know why they call it ARM 11 when the architecture is ARM v6, and so this is for ARM v7. ARM vector floating point specification. I don't know why the people who named all this stuff why would they name anything 11 if it's really a 6, I don't know where all that stuff is right now, but I went around. I spent a day figuring that out the other day. I figure stuff out, and I save everything, but then I can't find it again. But I figure stuff out, and then a few months later, I've forgotten it all again, and I got to That's one of the reasons why I make videos, is to help myself remember things. Okay, so what do I have here? Fedora. Oh, I only have 30 and 31. Okay, so I know I have some ARM FP. That one was one that I thought might run on it at one point, and let's see if I go by extension, maybe I can find them. Maybe, AARch 64, that was the one that I'd first thought would run on mine, but it's 64-bit, so it won't. And then I thought, okay, maybe this is the one, it'll run on it, and I downloaded it. And then I finally found the right page to tell you. That's the verification stuff. To tell you that, well, in short, mine is what I just said about it being ARM v6. Fedora will work on RV7 and up, but not RV6. But where did I go with my? Oh, I've lost it now because I keep them in the newest on top most of the time. Download news. Download Raspberry. Download Raspberry for Raspberry Pi. I don't think I have. I just actually saved the web page whenever it really gives me a lot of good information. I'll just do that. And I guess those are new. Yeah, that's the newest one, 11.13. I don't have the browser opened up. Let's open that one up for a second. It might have what I was talking about on there. I don't know how I got sidetracked into this, but it has everything to do. In my mind, it's not such a sidetrack because that's why I bought these SD cards. So here's the page where it tells you your choices, you know. Doesn't say download page, I'm not sure. I think it is their download page. And it explains to you what to do. You really have to, if you don't already know, you got to read this stuff. That's what I had clicked when I had downloaded a file. That's why that FileZilla checkered thing was there. And I just closed it because it didn't seem fit. I wasn't really doing anything at this time because it was just saved it in that state. Raspberry Buster with desktop and recommended software. Raspberry Buster with desktop, and I have learned through experience of trying them out that recommended software is just a bunch of stuff. For most of it is like have it to help teach kids programming, and I'm not a programmer, but and I don't know very much about it, but the little kiddie programs are silly to me because I have learned how to use several different IDEs, and they're kind of confusing because they go at it at a different angle, and I took a Python class on the Google University when it first opened up, and I didn't finish it because I tried to take 2 or 3 classes at once. How to build a self-driving car, which was like 10 years over my head, and the Python programming, Python basic programming. And I was kind of, I could kind of understand that. But it's one thing I figured out for sure. Programming is all about math. I didn't really realize it until I took that class, and I'm terrible at math. And I was trying to keep up with 2 or 3 at once, and they told you not to get in over your head, but I did anyway. And so I ended up not being able to keep up. You had to go fast. They changed it later to where you could go at your own pace, but you had to go fast. You had to go as fast as they wanted you to. I couldn't keep up. So I actually passed all the tests I took in Python, and the other ones I couldn't even take the tests. I didn't understand that. That was high-level stuff in that how to build a self-driving car. It was a lot more technical than that title of the class. You really needed a background in programming and all the motion sensor stuff they use and just everything. And then Raspberry Buster Lite, that's what's on that page. And then if you want to get to the noobs, it's somewhere else. Oh, there it is. It's right there. The noobs. I don't know why they picked that stupid name. Noob. When someone would say you're a noob, that was always an insult to me. In my generation. And now they act like try to wear it like a badge, It's silly. So anyway, there's where you would get those. Newbie, first, really everybody said newbie back then, they didn't say noob. So you're a newbie. So anyway. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to show the other link. I saw, okay, right here, this is where but before you really even download anything, you ought to read through this, installing operating system images. It's actually where I found the program that I was showing a minute ago. Belina Etcher. And I was trying not to get sidetracked, but since I've already gone down the rabbit hole, let's go ahead and finish what I was talking about. So let's say I was going to take and get put something on that SD card for the Raspberry Pi, because I did this already and I know it would work. Let's see if it would do. I can't remember what was in there. I think it was just files. That's why I was in here. Well, let's look and see before we pick one. Hit cancel on that. Yeah, but no, that one's got an IMG, so it has to be extracted. So this one, let's say we were going to do noobs. It would. I was trying to pick something that wouldn't give an error when you did it. Where did it go? Did I close the whole program? I guess I did. No, there it is. It followed me. That never used to happen. I've always worked, with multiple usually call it desktops. They technically call them workspaces, I think. I want them to be in their own space. I do not want them jumping around, following me everywhere I go. That's how I know where I want, I can just do this. And when they follow you, it just aggravates you. You lose them. And Crusader, my favorite file manager, it doesn't do it except for when you are synchronizing folders and stuff. This one just did it. And it's just really aggravating. The thing that I do to keep myself not confused now confuses me. Okay, version 3.2.1. Yeah, that's nearer than 3.2 nothing. Okay, so now we selected an image. It looks like this is not a bootable image. The image does not appear to contain partition table and may not be recognized or bootable by device. Okay, so that's not going to work. Okay. I'm going to say change. I'm just going to pick something else. How come it's just showing that? So that didn't work the way I expected. Well, I'm going to go ahead. Okay, let's just pretend I was doing this. So in that case, I know this one has, well, if I'm going to accidentally rename it there, has a IMG inside, and it's the one I probably would be going to use. So I'm going to, let's see, can you right click and say unpack? Or do you have to go up to the... No, I guess you have to go... Okay, so if you go up here to File and say Unpack. Now, you can use those other programs, but this is it. That's the way I like to do it this way because it's quick and it's what I'm used to. But you can right-click and say Open with, Archive Manager. Either one of those Archive Managers. You may only have one on your system, but is it doing it? It should be putting it over here on the... Well, since they're both the same directory, it'll actually, if you don't, in Crusader Twin Panel File Manager, if you have a different directory over here, it'll unpack it over to this other side, and it'd be a different directory. So I always get in the same directory. I think it's just still working on it. This is the, I think it's finished. But this is the progress bar. It's used to it popped up little windows, and you'd really know what was going on, but now it's just a little bar up there, and sometimes it shows something and sometimes it doesn't, but there it is up there. I don't know why my arrow's gone nuts. Hit escape and got rid of it. Oh, it's still working on it. See, you can see it in real time. That's why I like to leave my video folder open. See, I can go over there because you can see it happening there. Now, if I wouldn't have got out of my videos folder, it would have put it over there in the videos folder. So I didn't want that to happen. But see that, it's kind of funny when they're small, you'll see them changing just like that. But then as they get up above, like about right around 2 gigabytes, a little over that, then it's really slow to change. So, but as long as I look in once in a while and see that it's still growing, I know my backup video. This is my backup video of my stream. I always make a backup video while I'm streaming, and once in a while my stream gets broke or something, and I have that to upload. And I always just want to keep it, that way I already have a copy of it without having to download. Actually, this could be a better resolution than what YouTube would let you download, is what it seems to me. So yeah, see, it's 1.8 gigabyte, but I don't like when there's no progress bar, because the only thing I got to go by is I'm using Crusader, and I can see it growing in there. It used to. It used to. I think it did. I know it does when you're copying files and deleting files. There used to be a little window that would open up, but you might be able to go into the settings and tell it to do that still. But, okay, no, it wasn't done. Now it's still working. It's not real fast at extracting. These other programs, you know, those default programs, they might actually be a little faster at doing that. But I'm not going to do it again just because of that. But you can say open with in Grandpa, in Grandpa, in Grandma, Grandpa, in Grandpa, in Grandpa. It's in Grandpa. I'm going to call it in Grandpa. Archive Manager. That's what I have on here. Then there's another one I have, Archive Mounter, which will actually mount it as like like you do ISOs and drives to the. I think I'm working the machine a little too hard. I'll close the web browser. I'm not really using that right now. What else have I got? That. We'll hang on to that. Well, when it does that, the mouse starts acting up. I'm going to close everything I can. Is it still working? I put it down there. Oh, I guess it's, it gave it, no, it didn't. 7919. Well, I guess, it's really big. See, now my SD card's only 4 gigabytes. It had it up there at the top, I guess because it was a temporary file at first. Now it may be finished because it went back down there and it has the name of, see, the zip file is newer than the IMG file, which makes sense, you know. But yeah, you don't want to start using, if you're doing it like I just now did it, then you don't want to start trying to use that IMG file until you're darn sure it's finished unzipping. Linux, I think, really is faster with, like, you know, tar GZs, or this one here is an img.xz. I think it's still a tar file, but anyway, you know, you just work with whatever they give you. I want to make sure. I think since, you know, I never did change, you know, sort by modified, you know, newer on top, and it was up there, which is normal. It's what I usually do see. But I just remembered that if you pay attention to the name, it might have said something that let you know it was a temporary file at that time. But now that it looks like it's finished and it has the not today's date on it, the older date, I think it is finished. So, yeah, Crusader is a pretty heavy user. Well, I don't want to close it until I'm 100% sure that's finished, though. Sometimes, especially when I have my video folder open, sometimes it actually does. I don't know why it's not showing that it's doing anything bad, though, so it should be all right. Well, let's go ahead and open up that. I forgot the name of it now. Yeah, I typed SD and it was in the description, I think. Belinda Etcher, Belinia Etcher. Now then, so we select an image. That's recent stuff. That's what that is. I just remembered. Now, there it is, extracted. I think it is finished. So we select it. Now it jumps over there to select target. 3.78 gigabytes, what it sees it as. See, everything you look in sees things as a little bit different size. So, yeah, now you have a list. I've got my 8 terabyte drive at the top there. I don't think it selected anything by default yet. It didn't know what to select this time. When I had was using it on my on the SD card adapter, and that just reminds me, on the SD, you know, micro to full-size SD card adapter, it always picked the SD card. It knew to do that. Uh, but here it doesn't know what to pick, so it just gives you a list because they're all showing up as USB drives. Now that's one thing I don't think it's a good idea. I've done it in a pinch. I'm formatting an SD. If you're going to use it as an SD card in the SD card adapter, the full size adapter, put it in there if you possibly can and format it that way. Write it. We're not formatting it. We're just going to write the image to it. It's just going to extract the image and write it to there for you. It's just doing that for you. But if you're planning on using it as an in the USB adapter, then that would be the way to go. Like if I was going to use this in the USB adapter and boot to it, then this would be the way to go. But I'm not planning on doing that. If I use it in the Raspberry Pi, I will have to put it in the full size SD card adapter because that's the only thing that'll go in. That's the only thing that Pi will boot to. It won't boot to USB. I looked into that because I thought I kept seeing stuff about you can boot to to a USB. But this right here is the trickiest part of just making darn sure you do not. In this case, as long as you're not formatting, all you do is write a bunch of files that'd be junk on your drive, that you wouldn't want. But if it's doing any formatting, you will destroy. These are my backup drives. You would destroy important data. So I hit X to get out of it. But then you would hit flash, and you'd be, and it says mass storage 128 gigabyte. They have SDD. So you hover over that. You can make sure before you click. And down there it says the size, large drive, to know that you're. And this would work, and it should be just bootable just great as a USB device, since that is micro SD is in the USB adapter. But if I took it out, I did this. I think I did it on my server. I wrote it that way, and then I decided to take it out and put it into the USB adapter because it has a full-size USB card that's inside the server that's meant for booting to. So I thought, well, rather than have that hanging out the back of the front of the server and breaking it, because it's already breaking, I'll put it inside. And it booted and ran okay. It was a little glitchy, though, probably because I did it that way. It just makes sense. A lot of hardware and a lot of software, they go ahead and read the drive and see, okay, what kind of drive is this? Especially these writers and stuff. But when you're booting from a device, a USB, a hard drive, a USB hard drive, internal hard drive, the BIOS you need to select the correct one in the BIOS to get most machines to boot. Desktops are especially that way. Well, laptops too. Laptops are kind of more automatic, it seems, but they're also particular about the right setting in BIOS in order to boot correctly to what device you're trying to boot to. So yeah, I didn't want to do that actually, but so anyway, to make a short story extremely long, that is going around and round and round about how to and why you might format something, in a certain way with a certain file system. But so, and also I notice on these it keeps just saying eject. Sometimes I'll see safely remove and eject in there. And I always go for safely remove if it has it in there, because sometimes I'll click eject and it'll throw up some error, but it'll still unmount it. But sometimes that USB slot may be unusable until you reboot too when that happens. So, but if you only got one choice, then choose it. It'll either be safe remove or eject or both. And don't just yank them out. In Linux especially, Windows you can get away with it as long as you don't do it real fast. I mean, like take one out and put one in real fast. But in Linux, a lot of times if you just yank it out without doing the safely remove or eject, then it will lock that USB slot, and you won't be able to put another thing in there, or pull that one out and put it back in there. It won't read it. It won't mount it. I mean, well, it won't read it or mount it. If it's not mounting it, that means it ain't reading it. Well, not right anyway. I mean, you can't read it because it won't mount. So I learned years ago, and once in a while I'll forget and just grab it, and if you go check, I used to know exactly where to go to look for the lock file. And actually, you could go find that lock file and delete it, and you'd be okay again without having to reboot. But I think they just put it somewhere else, and I couldn't find it anymore. And also, I don't know for sure if it still works that way or not. I'm trying to find the. I don't have to. I'm on the desktop, aren't I? I was telling you what I was doing when I get my hands up where you can see. There, that other. The full size adapter, it only goes in one way, but I can't really see it. This one has like a funny little track. It doesn't go flat all the way down into these little, it's got these like risers that are shaped just right to put these in there. It's really, I was saying how I like this, but it's really hard to figure out how to get it in there. This one is, well, it's got a shape. I'm going by that little shape. My problem is I don't see well anymore at all. I've got these glasses on, but I still need that magnifying glass to do this. There. I didn't want to push hard on it and break it. Yeah, okay. That little trace shows you which way to put it in there. I guess because there is a difference. The top one is narrower. The SD card is not a straight rectangle. One side of it's kind of got a little jiggly joggly, and then it's narrower, or joggly jiggly, or one way or the other. The full size is rectangular, except for one corner is chopped off. So I don't believe I can show that. Oh, actually, I think you can see what I was talking about. You see those traces? Yeah, you can see that. So, I can't, my eyes just blur. I can't really see all that. Got too much junk up in that spot. I can't. So, that's all ready to go, and I thought about going in and putting an image on it, and then I thought, well, I don't want to do that and then have to clean it up again if I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet. So with that formatted Fat32, I can pop it in the camera if I want, or I can write whatever I want to it. And if I decided to put a Fedora, ISO image on it, or use a Fedora ISO image to make a bootable Fedora SD card, then that wouldn't hurt a thing. It'll just reformat it again automatically for me to like I explained through all those different programs there. Now I'm down to have a break. And I said to myself when I started this, wasn't going to be a very long video. And so I would do that and be done by around 11 and then get a bath, get in bed. And it's 12:13 now. So I went over. Instead of going 30 minutes to an hour, which I expected, I went an hour and 48 minutes. So, but anyway, there you go. There's my new SD card and what I do with them. So I'll see you later. I should hopefully be back on getting that camera going. I want it set up and outside, and quit having. I've already run two phone batteries using those phones. Don't try to use phones as 24/7 security cameras. It ruins the batteries. Run two, and the other one's starting to swell up. If I don't get that thing stop doing it, running it all the time, it's going to be run two. All right, bye.